Hey everyone, I'm out here in the garage and I don't have the Acura RL behind me today, but that's the subject of today's video. So you probably remember about a week ago I put out a video on removing the rear seats on that car, and that's because we're replacing the rear struts. So the follow-up to that video is removing the rear speakers, because you have to remove the rear seats and the rear speakers to get to the struts. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So stay tuned. Alright, so let's jump into it. To remove the rear speaker and the rear shelf, we have to first unbolt the middle seat belt, which requires a 14mm socket. Next, I peeled away the door seal on the passenger side because I needed to remove the pillar garnish that sits on top of the rear shelf. Once I had the door seal out of the way, I used a screwdriver to pry the garnish's clips out of the metal of the car. I undid one or two of the clips closest to the door frame, but I had trouble seeing the other clips because of a harness connector that was in the way. So I moved to the other side of the car to see if it might be easier and provide some clues on how to remove the passenger side garnish. Alright, so you could see me struggling with the other side, so I wanted to get this trim piece off, but I wanted to be very careful because, as you can see, there's a lot of plastic here. I didn't want to break anything. So what I did is I started with this clip first, the screwdriver, got it right underneath here, then pried it away from the side pillar. Did the same thing here, just kind of moved up along. Once I got these first three out, then I dropped down over to this one, and then I reached up as high as I could with the screwdriver because there was a gap that formed. And I was able to get this one out, and then I popped this last one free. So I would definitely use a screwdriver. I would not do this by trying to pull on it because you're most likely going to break something. So this side trim is out on this side, and then I've got to do that one over there now that I know what this one looks like. Alright, so I got this one off without breaking any clips, so I'll count that as a success. But as you can see, this connector was in my way, so I had to undo that. Once I got that out of the way, then I could get this clip off up here, and then pretty much everything else came off after that. There are 3 clips at the front of the rear shelf that are easily unfastened with a pry tool. To finally remove the rear shelf, simply grasp at the front of it with 2 hands, then pull it forward towards the front of the car. The last thing to do to remove the speaker is to unscrew the 4 Phillips screws with the number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Then just lift the speaker out of the housing and squeeze the connector to detach it from the speaker. Alright, so let's reverse the procedure and reinstall the components we removed. First, we'll reconnect the speaker, then reinstall it with the 4 Phillips screws. Next, we'll reinstall the rear shelf. To do so, simply lay it flat, then slide it back. The clips at the rear should clip onto the metal shelf frame. The gray plastic clips at the front of the shelf just snap back into place. Once the shelf is reinstalled, the pillar garnish is next. Just line them up, then snap them back into place. The door seal is friction fit to the door frame, so it should be easily reinstalled. Lastly, the 14mm seatbelt bolt is fastened to 28 foot-pounds. Alright, so as you saw, the rear shelf removal, those side pieces, you have to be very careful with those. There's a lot of plastic in there. If you take one clip out at a time, use a long handle screwdriver to do that. It's really pretty easy. You just have to take your time with that. If it doesn't feel right, if you start pulling and tugging on it, you're probably going to break something. So use a screwdriver, take one clip out at a time, and then pretty soon you'll have them all out, and then that's about it. Then get the shelf off, you slide it forward. It's really pretty easy. So hopefully that information was helpful, and thanks for watching.